I have already reviewed them both, the Honor 8 Pro and the Huawei Mate 9, which by now already even got its revisited review. Today though, it's time for the direct and detailed comparison between these two flagship phablets, because after all this is the best Honor has to offer in this segment, and same goes here for Huawei as well. And that's why I think it will be quite a close but also strong battle. But after watching this video, I'm quite confident you will know which one of these two suits you best. And that's why I would say let's get into the design and build quality. The Honor 8 Pro has a flat back and looks maybe a little bit more like an iPhone, where the Huawei Mate 9 looks a little bit more unique to me, like a slightly bigger Huawei Mate S. I definitely like the slightly curved back, which actually makes a little bit of a difference in holding it. Both though are very compact, even though I have to say the Huawei Mate 9 with the 0.2-inch bigger display is almost not big at all, because as you can see, height pretty much the same, a little bit wider and maybe a tad thicker, but it's pretty much the same when it comes to holding it in one hand. So they did a really great job. Both have 2.5D glass, both are built absolutely super premium, very sturdy, absolutely nice. Buttons feel great on both. Click is a little bit better on the Huawei, but that's pretty much all I have to say here. When it comes to the fingerprint reader though, one thing is obvious. The Huawei Mate has placed it a little bit more convenient, at least for my short fingers, because I can still quite conveniently reach that one. And the fingerprint reader also reacts super fast, super great, but I have a little bit harder time to get to the fingerprint reader here. That one still though works pretty much just as good as on the Huawei, so here they are quite close. Button placement is also very similar, as you can see here. Headphone jacks are a little bit differently placed, but both have the USB Type-C in the bottom and the speaker on the right. But unfortunately, the Honor 8 Pro doesn't use the earpiece for the highs as well, like the Huawei Mate 9 does. So I would say it really comes down to personal preference, which one you like or which one feels better in the hand for you. I have to say both feel compact, both feel super premium. And I only give the slight advantage to the Huawei Mate 9 because I can reach the fingerprint reader easier and the design is a little bit more unique. But like I said, comes down to personal preference. If we check the sound now, let's start off with the Honor 8 Pro and see what that one has to offer. Let's do the same here with the Huawei. So what do I have to say about the speakers? First of all, I definitely still have to give the clear win to the Huawei Mate 9 because it just sounds louder and it also sounds more like a front-facing stereo speaker. It just sounds richer, just nicer, overall better balanced. Where the Honor 8 Pro sounds a little bit muffled without reflection and with reflection a little bit on the harsher side. Headphone jacks though are pretty much on the same aspect, so win after all to the Mate 9, and I would have really wished for the Honor 8 Pro to have the same kind of speaker arrangement like we have seen already on the HTC 10. So let's get into the display here. And actually the difference is a little bit different than you would expect because we have a Quad HD 5.7-inch IPS display on the Honor 8 Pro, where the Huawei Mate 9 has a 5.9-inch IPS display with just 1080p, which is absolutely not a problem. Both are calibrated to, or at least set to 135 lux, so brightness should be on par on both, but the Huawei Mate 9 gets brighter noticeably because I measured 650 lux where I measured only 450, which is not all that amazing on the Honor 8 Pro. For me though, absolutely normal, but it really comes down to the calibration because as you can already see, the Honor Pro or Honor 8 Pro has the slightly more turquoise blue, where this one is proper blue. It really is only visible in a direct comparison, and both brilliant displays. I have to say though, the higher resolution is not really visible. Maybe if you use VR, but not if you use them just normally side by side, because for some reason, and I'm not quite sure how they managed to do that, Huawei offers the clearer screen and the better contrast, which is especially visible if we would, for example, switch to Flamingo now, because here you can see the white just stands out, or the gray stands out a little bit more compared here to what we've seen. It's really a minor difference, as I have said, and the qualities otherwise are very similar. But even though, due to expecting the high resolution here to have the better screen, I give it to the Mate 9. It's brighter, the contrast is a little bit better, it looks a little bit more vibrant, even nicer saturated, a little bit more accurate, and the lower resolution makes no difference at all. So let's end both. In terms of performance now, We have 6 gigabytes of RAM on the Honor 8 Pro, only 4, but only 4 on the Huawei. Does it make a difference? And I have to say, not really all that much when it comes to normal performance, like launch times and so on. But where the Honor, and I didn't get that right, it doesn't really matter, where the Honor 8 Pro has the upper hand though is multitasking for sure, because it can hold up noticeably more apps, and in terms of overall snappy feel, I have to say both are very, very similar. The Huawei Mate 9, when I had it the first time, still had a little bit of some jitteriness here, which is not the case on either one. So I'm super pleased with either one's performance. Both perform at their absolute peak and are pretty much the best that you can get on the market. So you can see here, super smooth, super nice, absolutely great. Pretty much the same amount of motion blur, pretty much the same amount of usual experience. So if one maybe is a little bit smoother or faster or in some way better than the other, doesn't really matter, because in normal daily life experience, I did not really notice any difference. And if I would have to choose, I would just take the Huawei Mate 9. I don't really know even why. Maybe because the game performance was a little bit more consistent to the slightly lower res, but that's pretty much it. Battery life. The Huawei Mate 9 charges in 1 hour and 40, where the Honor 8 Pro needs 2 hours and 30. Because it doesn't support the same quick charge that the Huawei does. Even though I would use the same charger, it just doesn't fully support it, which is a little bit sad to see. I still think the charge time is quite okay, but in the end it really comes down to the battery life, in my opinion, where the Mate of course also has the upper hand, because the Honor just has to push more pixels. We just have Quad HD versus 1080p, and even though I was surprised that we didn't have an impact in terms of performance on the Honor, it was noticeable in terms of battery life, because where I get 6, 7 and 8 hours respectively on mobile data, mixed use and Wi-Fi only on the Mate 9, I would say expect at least 1, if not 1.5 hours less on the Honor 8 Pro, which is still good, absolutely fine. But if it comes down to the differences, then the Huawei Mate 9 has the upper hand. Software, I won't really show it. I'm pretty sure you have seen it and you can watch my review for that, because there is not really a difference between those two. Yes, the Honor 8 Pro has already EMUI 5.1, but that's pretty much the only difference, the number, because I don't really see a difference either way. And that's why I would say, let's get into the camera. And I'm quite sure before anyone says something, I've crooked up the pictures. This is not true, but I've noticed that something seems off, and I will get to that in a second. Because if you can see here, this is without the flash and this is without the flash on the Mate 9. So the first picture will always be the Honor 8 Pro, and one thing will get quite obvious quite soon, because if you check the first picture and now switch to the Huawei Mate 9, you see that it lacks a little bit of contrast. Everything looks a little bit less saturated. And at first I thought something went wrong, so I redid the whole test. But no, it stayed the same. So for some, maybe actually it could seem better on the Mate 9, because maybe a little bit more realistic. But I have to say, from my standpoint, I like the slightly more contrasty look, the slightly sharper feel of the Honor 8 Pro. Because whatever I did, you can see this goes throughout every test. The Honor 8 Pro looks a tad sharper for some reason and just nicer contrasted. In terms of shutter times and so on, autofocus, they both work pretty much identical. But in the end, it really comes down to the picture, because it looks just a tad pale and just not quite as sharp on the Huawei Mate 9. I'm not quite sure why, because the first time that I had it, it looked a little bit better to me. So I'm not quite sure. I did the test again, but it was always coming down to the same point. The Honor 8 Pro wins. Not by a whole lot, and it still is a great camera. You all know, if you have seen reviews of the Huawei Mate 9, that it is really delivering a great performance. But I don't know, the Honor 8 Pro really wins me over. I just can't say anything else here. Absolutely stunning pictures. Absolutely great. Yeah, just a little bit less saturated on the Huawei. Now, when it comes to selfies though, things turn again. Because here you can see the Honor 8 Pro doesn't really look all that sharp. Not really all that impressed. Here, maybe not on the Huawei Mate 9 again, but if this was a bad picture, check the Honor once again. Just not fully sharp. Then though, the Mate 9 knows to shine, because it has the overall, as you can see now, just way sharper front-facing camera. Here visible as well. It's maybe not the very best one either, but noticeably sharper. Low light pictures, once again, the same thing as outside. I don't know what was wrong with my Mate 9. I don't really know, because it looks just off. It is a noticeable pattern throughout. Maybe my version is crooked. I don't know. I don't really know. It is really coming down to that. So selfies, yes, win to the Mate 9. And maybe something is weird on my back camera, because I give the win definitely to the Honor 8 Pro. So that's why I would say let's already quickly summarize this once again. Design and build quality, like I said, comes down to personal preference. But if I already have to get something really big, I would get something with the more a little bit unique look and pretty much same size but bigger display. So slight win, slightly, ever so slightly more premium feel on the Huawei. Display, as I already said, I will give the win here to the Huawei Mate 9 as well. Even though it has the lower resolution, it just has the more quality, brighter, more contrasty, nicer calibrated screen. This one still absolutely beautiful, still absolutely amazing, same as the design, but maybe not quite on that level after all. Speaker, once again, noticeable win here for the Huawei Mate 9, noticeably louder, clearer, richer sound, warmer, and the way better arrangement with at least some halfway stereo front-facing speaker feel, which I just don't have on the Honor 8 Pro. Performance, so close that I will give the win actually to the Honor 8 Pro, even though I maybe said something different at the detailed part. Why? Because 6 gigs of RAM. It is noticeable in terms of heavy multitasking, but in terms of normal browsing, scrolling, app launch times and so on, not really. The screen response may be slightly better though on the Huawei Mate 9, in case that's important for you. Like I said, battery, it charges faster and it holds up longer. So even on the battery side, it has the upper hand. Software, identical. Camera though, actually for me, I'm not quite sure why, I've said this already a few times, weaker throughout. That's why the win goes to the Honor 8 Pro. And I know some of you might be a little bit confused because of what I said in my first impressions video of the Honor 8 Pro, because there I said it is most probably the better Mate 9. But I also said that in my review of the Honor 8 Pro, I maybe judged a little bit too quick. I just had it for a day and I didn't have the Mate 9 again. So I had it now once again, did my whole test of my whole battery of tests, and I just have to say, priced ever so slightly higher, I can live with this lower resolution. I personally could live with the, if it even is real, worse battery camera. Yeah, that's it. Quite, I wouldn't say really quite a clear win, because after all, this is on a so strong level, and only in a real direct comparison you can actually see the differences. This delivers in all regards. But having both here side by side, doing all my tests, checking them both side by side once again, yeah, it was quite more obvious than I actually expected even before making the video here. So that's all I have to say. Both great devices, I can recommend them both, but if I would have to choose one or the other, Mate 9, yeah. That's it. I hope you liked the video. Maybe a thumbs up, maybe a subscription and a comment down there below. Otherwise, I wish you a nice day. Until next time, bye.